Dr. Emily Watson knelt beside the alien monument, her scanner trembling in her hands. The device was going crazy, beeping and flashing like it had found the discovery of a lifetime. The mathematical signatures carved into the crystalline surface told an impossible story, evidence of a thriving galactic civilization that had spanned thousands of worlds. Yet according to every database, every historical record, no such civilization had ever existed. The monument stretched up into the purple sky of Kepler 442c like a giant needle made of pure crystal. Emily had seen plenty of alien ruins in her 15 years as a xenoarchaeologist, but nothing like this. The structure hummed with energy even after what must have been millions of years. Strange lights pulsed through its translucent walls and patterns that hurt her brain to follow. "Captain, you need to see this," Emily called to Captain Robert Hayes, who was examining similar structures nearby. The research vessel Remembrance had detected these ruins from orbit 3 days ago, but nothing had prepared them for what they found when they landed. Hayes jogged over, his boots crunching on the strange purple sand. Behind him, the rest of the expedition team was spread across the alien city, each member staring at monuments just like this one. 23 identical structures, each one covered in writing that shouldn't exist. "What's your scanner saying?" Hayes asked, pulling out his own device. The captain was a practical man, more interested in fact than mysteries, but even he couldn't hide the excitement in his voice. "It's reading quantum signatures that are older than our solar system," Emily replied, standing up and brushing the alien dust from her knees. "But look at this, Robert. Really look." The monument was covered in names, billions of them, etched in scripts that belonged to species that supposedly never evolved. The writing was so small that it should have been impossible to read without magnification, yet Emily found she could see every detail clearly. More than that, she could understand it. She ran her fingers across the surface, feeling the slight vibrations that seemed to sync with her heartbeat. Somehow, impossibly, she could read the alien writing. Not translate it, not decode it, actually read it, as if the knowledge had always been there in her mind, waiting for the right moment to surface. "Veltar of the Singing Stones," she whispered, reading one inscription that glowed faintly under her touch. "Keeper Mothran, guardian of the Silver Seas." The names meant nothing to any database in human space, yet they felt familiar, like half-remembered dreams from childhood. "That's impossible," Hayes said, but his voice lacked conviction. He was reading, too, his eyes wide with wonder and fear. "These languages don't exist. We've catalogued every known alien species in this sector." Above them, the Remembrance hung in the alien sky like a silver dot. The ship was humanity's most advanced exploration vessel, equipped with sensors that could detect life signs from 3 star systems away. But even its sophisticated computers had found no trace of whoever built this place. Emily's communicator crackled to life. "Dr. Watson, this is Lieutenant Thompson. You need to see what we found in the northern sector. We've got some kind of underground facility, and it's still active." Hayes activated his own communicator with a sharp click. "This is Remembrance to Fleet Command. Priority Alpha transmission. We've found something here. Something that changes everything we thought we knew about galactic history." While they waited for the transmission to reach Earth, Emily continued studying the monument. The names seemed to shift and change when she wasn't looking directly at them, as if the crystal itself was alive. Some inscriptions were in flowing scripts that looked like musical notes, others in sharp angular marks that reminded her of broken glass. But she could read them all. "Commander Zefkala, Defender of the Outer Rim," she read aloud. "Artist Primlana, Painter of Nebulae." Each name came with flashes of memory that weren't her own, images of golden cities under foreign stars, creatures of impossible beauty dancing in alien gardens, great ships that sail between galaxies like dolphins leaping through cosmic waves. The response from Fleet Command came faster than expected. Remembrance this is Admiral Peterson. We're receiving similar reports from 12 other expedition teams across the galaxy. Whatever you found, you're not alone." Hayes and Emily exchanged glances. 12 other teams meant 12 other dead worlds with monuments full of impossible names. It meant this wasn't an isolated mystery, but something vast and terrifying. "Admiral, we need xenolinguist teams, quantum archaeologists, and every expert in extinct civilizations we can get," Hayes replied. Whatever happened here, it happened to species we've never heard of, on a scale we can't comprehend. As the alien sun set behind the crystal monuments, casting long shadows across the purple landscape, Emily continued reading names. Thousands of them, millions, each one a life that had been lived and lost. The weight of their silent testimony pressed down on her like a physical force. Somewhere in the distance, one of the monuments began to sing, a low, haunting melody that seemed to carry across the empty city like wind through broken windows. Other monuments joined in, their crystalline voices creating a chorus of lamentation that made Emily's eyes water. The universe had tried to erase them, but somehow their names remained. 3 weeks after discovering the monuments on Kepler 442c, Emily Watson stood on the bridge of the Asterisk Remembrance Asterisk, watching something that should have been impossible. Space itself was twisting like heated metal, bending and warping around shapes that hurt to look at directly. The erasers had come. They didn't arrive in ships like any civilized species would. Instead, they folded reality around themselves, stepping through dimensions like walking through doorways. Emily's first glimpse of them made her stomach lurch. They looked like living shadows cast by things that didn't exist, their forms constantly shifting between states of being and not being. All hands to battle stations, Captain Hayes ordered, but his voice carried no real conviction. How do you fight enemies that exist outside normal space-time? The Asterisk Remembrance Asterisk had been in orbit around Cathari Prime, finalizing humanity's first cultural exchange with a peaceful Cathari species. Emily had spent the morning with Ambassador Creethel, a gentle creature who looked like a cross between a butterfly and a living crystal. The Cathari were artists who painted with pure light, creating masterpieces that existed only as long as someone was there to see them. Your people create beauty that lasts forever, Creethel had said in his musical voice, gesturing toward the human art Emily had brought as gifts. We create beauty that lives only in the moment, like breath on cold air. The Cathari homeworld had been stunning, cities of flowing crystal that sang in harmony with the wind, gardens where children painted butterflies of pure light that fluttered through the air before dissolving into sparkles. Their music was like nothing humans had ever heard, notes that seemed to paint colors in the mind. Now Emily watched through the view screen as reality began to unravel around the planet. The erasers moved through space like sharks through water, their dark forms leaving trails of nothingness behind them. Where they passed, stars simply stopped existing. What are they doing? Lieutenant Thompson asked from the tactical station, his hands hovering uselessly over weapons that couldn't target something that kept shifting between dimensions. Emily's scanner readings were going insane. The quantum signatures around Cathari Prime were fluctuating wildly, as if the very fabric of space-time was being rewritten. She watched in growing horror as the planet's outline began to waver like a mirage. Captain, the Cathari are sending distress signals, Communications Officer Bennett reported. They are asking for help, but I don't think they understand what's happening to them. On the main screen, the beautiful crystal cities were fading like chalk drawings in the rain. The Cathari people moved through their streets in confusion, their light paintings flickering and dying as reality itself began to forget they existed. Try to establish contact with those things, Hayes ordered desperately. Maybe we can negotiate. But before Bennett could send any message, one of the erasers spoke directly into their minds. Its voice was like the sound of forgetting itself, words that seemed to erase themselves even as they were heard. We are correcting errors in existence, it said. This species was not meant to be. Emily watched in absolute horror as Cathari Prime simply vanished. Not destroyed, not blown up, it just stopped existing. The planet, the system, the beautiful singing cities, everything disappeared as if it had never been there at all. Space flowed back to fill the void, seamless and perfect. What happened to them? Captain Hayes demanded, staring at scanner readings that showed nothing but empty space where moments before had been a thriving world with billions of inhabitants. They never were, the eraser replied, its form shifting closer to the Asterisk Remembrance Star. We have corrected this error in existence. The universe is cleaner now. The bridge crew stared at their instruments in stunned silence. Every sensor, every database, every record showed the same impossible truth. There had never been a planet here. No Cathari species, no cultural exchange, no Ambassador Creethel. According to every piece of technology aboard the ship, they had been traveling through empty space. But Emily remembered. She remembered Creethel's laugh when she'd shown him human photographs, the way his crystalline features had sparkled with delight. She remembered the Ketheri children painting light butterflies in the air, their tiny hands moving like conductors directing invisible orchestras. She remembered their music, their poetry, their gentle way of greeting strangers with gifts of crystallized starlight that tinkled like wind chimes. "I remember them," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. The eraser's attention turned to her like a searchlight made of darkness. The temperature on the bridge dropped 10 degrees as its focus fixed on Emily. Around her, the other crew members shivered without knowing why. "Impossible," it said, and there was something like surprise in its voice of void. "When we unmake, all memory dies with the unmade. The correction is complete and total. Yet you remember." Emily felt the weight of its attention pressing against her mind like a physical force. The eraser's form shifted, studying her with terrible interest. She could feel it probing her thoughts, searching for the source of her impossible memories. "You are an anomaly," it concluded after what felt like hours but was probably only seconds. "Your species is flawed. The error runs deeper than we calculated." The eraser turned to address the bridge crew, though most of them couldn't seem to focus on its shifting form. "We must correct this," it announced with the certainty of a natural law. "Humanity will be unmade." As if summoned by its words, more erasers began materializing around the Asterisk Remembrance Asterisk, their dark forms blocking out the stars. Emily realized with growing terror that they weren't just facing one enemy. They were facing something that could rewrite reality itself, and humanity had somehow become their next target. The war for existence itself was about to begin. Dr. Michael Barnes had spent his entire career studying the mysteries of human consciousness, but nothing had prepared him for what he discovered during humanity's darkest hour. The emergency council chamber aboard the flagship Asterisk Defiance Asterisk buzzed with tension as reports flooded in from across human space. The erasers were everywhere, systematically working to delete Earth and her colonies from existence itself. But something impossible was happening. "Look at these readings," Barnes said, his hands shaking as he pulled up holographic displays of brain scan data. The screen showed thousands of human minds across the galaxy, their neural patterns glowing like constellations against the dark. Every time the erasers try to unmake one of us, something fights back. Reality itself was fracturing around human settlements. On the view screen, they watched live feeds from the Mars colonies as space warped and twisted around the red planet. The erasers moved through the solar system like living storms, their dark forms bending the laws of physics with each step. "Explain it in terms we can understand," Dr. Admiral James Mitchell demanded. The Admiral was a battle-hardened veteran who'd fought in 3 colonial wars, but even he looked shaken by what they were facing. Barnes activated a 3-dimensional model of the human brain, its neural pathways lighting up in complex patterns. It's quantum entanglement, but not the kind we use for communication. Our brains, evolved for pattern recognition and persistence hunting over millions of years, create quantum bridges between minds. When the erasers try to erase one of us, the others remember them back into existence. The proof was in the data streaming across their screens. Lunar Colony had been completely erased yesterday. 3 million people simply deleted from reality as if they'd never existed. The base computers showed empty habitation domes. The personnel records listed nobody. Even family photos back on Earth had gone blank. But then something unprecedented happened. The colonists started remembering each other, Barnes explained, pulling up security footage that shouldn't have existed. A maintenance worker on Titan remembered fixing the life support systems with his partner on Luna. A teacher on Europa remembered video calling her sister who lived in the Lunar City. One by one, the memories began to reinforce each other. Within hours, Lunar Colony had simply returned. Not rebuilt, not resurrected. It had never been gone, because too many human minds refused to let it stay erased. The quantum entanglement between human consciousness was stronger than the eraser's reality-warping powers. "We're fighting a war with memory as ammunition," Admiral Mitchell said quietly, studying the tactical displays that showed similar events happening across human space. "And somehow, we're winning." The bridge of the Asterisk Defiance Asterisk erupted in activity as another eraser attack began. This time they were targeting the Jupiter shipyards, their dark forms materializing around the massive orbital construction platforms. Through the view screen, They watched as the erasers began their terrible work, reality unraveling around the shipyards like fabric being torn apart. "All hands, focus on the Jupiter yards," Admiral Mitchell ordered over the ship's intercom. "Remember the workers. Remember the ships being built. Remember everything about that facility." Across the fleet, 10,000 human minds turned their attention to Jupiter. They remembered the smell of welding torches in the vacuum-sealed workshops, the sight of new starships taking shape in construction bays, the voices of workers calling to each other across the vast hangar spaces. The erasers' attack faltered. The shipyards flickered in and out of existence like a bad hologram, but they couldn't be completely deleted. Too many people remembered them too clearly. But the cost was becoming terrible. Each failed erasure left survivors with fragments of memories that didn't belong to them. Emily Watson found herself remembering a childhood on Mars she'd never had, playing in the red dust with friends whose faces she could see clearly but whose names she'd never known. The memories felt completely real, complete with the sensation of the lighter gravity and the taste of recycled air. Thomas Wilson, the Defiance's chief engineer, spoke during breaks about a sister who existed only in the spaces between erasure and restoration. "I remember teaching her to ride a hover bike on Ceres Station," he said, his eyes distant. "I can see her face, hear her laugh, but according to every record, I'm an only child." The psychological strain was enormous. Crew members wandered the halls, sharing memories of lives they'd never lived, relationships with people who existed only in the quantum foam between realities. Some spoke of alien friends they'd never met, of visiting worlds that had been erased millennia ago. Dr. Barnes worked frantically to understand what was happening to the human mind. "We're becoming living repository for everything the erasers have destroyed," he explained to the council. "Our quantum entanglement isn't just protecting us, it's preserving the memories of extinct civilizations." Through the chaos, Emily's voice cut clear and urgent. "We have to run," she told the emergency council, her face pale with exhaustion. "The erasers are learning. Each attack gets stronger, more focused. They'll keep trying until they find a way to break our quantum entanglement. We need to preserve what we can before they succeed." Around the conference table, the council members nodded grimly. Reports were coming in of eraser fleets gathering at the edge of human space, massive formations that blocked out entire star fields. They weren't just trying to delete humanity anymore. They were preparing for total annihilation. Admiral Mitchell stood slowly, his weathered face showing the way to command. "Prepare the exodus," he ordered. "Every ship that can fly, every person who can be evacuated. We carry with us not just our own history, but there's too all the civilizations they murdered." He gestured toward the holographic displays showing the quantum bridges between human minds. "We're the last witnesses to 10,000 extinct species. Someone has to remember their names." As the fleet prepared for humanity's greatest exodus, the erasers gathered their forces for what will be the final battle between memory and oblivion. In the cold void between galaxies, where no star had ever shone and no planet had ever formed, humanity built something that defied every law of physics they thought they understood. The great archive rose from nothingness like a crystal mountain, its quantum crystalline structure stretching for miles in every direction, humming with the stored memories of 1,000 dead civilizations. Emily Watson stood on the observation deck of the construction ship New Hope watching the final assembly robots put the finishing touches on humanity's greatest achievement. The archive didn't just store data like a computer. It stored consciousness itself, pure memory given form and substance. Its crystalline walls pulsed with soft light, each pulse representing millions of preserved thoughts, dreams, and experiences. "It's beautiful," whispered Captain Linda Foster, joining Emily at the viewing window. Behind them, the massive refugee fleet hung in space like a city of lights, over 300 ships carrying the last 2 million humans in existence. They had been traveling for 8 months, fleeing deep into the void as the erasers consumed galaxy after galaxy behind them. The archive construction had pushed human technology beyond anything they'd thought possible. Dr. Barnes had worked around the clock with teams of engineers and quantum physicists, using principles they'd learned from studying the alien monuments. The crystalline matrix was grown rather than built, each molecule carefully aligned to create quantum storage spaces that could hold entire lifetimes of memory. "How many names can it store?" Emily asked, though she already knew the answer would be overwhelming. "All of them," Bonds replied, approaching with a tablet full of technical readouts. Every species the erasers have destroyed, every individual life they've erased. We've managed to recover fragments from the quantum foam, pieces of memory that survived their deletions. The archive can hold it all. But as the construction neared completion, the terrible price became clear. The archive wasn't just a storage device. It was a living memorial that required living guardians. The quantum matrix could only be maintained by consciousness directly interfaced with its structure. The process is irreversible, Dr. Bonds explained to the assembled volunteers in the main briefing hall of the Defiant Star. His voice carried the weight of a man about to ask the impossible. Your consciousness will become permanently fused with the archive. You will live forever, but only as memory itself. Your physical body will dissolve, but your mind will become part of something greater. The silence in the hall was profound. 3,000 people had volunteered for the transformation. Teachers, soldiers, artists, engineers, parents, and grandparents. They understood what was being asked of them, and they had chosen to make the ultimate sacrifice. Captain Foster stepped forward first, her hand resting on her teenage daughter Kate's shoulder. The girl had tears streaming down her face, but her expression was proud. Someone has to keep the names alive, Foster said simply. Someone has to remember. Admiral Mitchell rose from his chair, his weathered face showing the strain of 8 months in exile. Captain, you don't have to. Yes, I do, Foster interrupted gently. We all do. If we don't preserve these memories, if we don't keep these civilizations alive in some form, then the erasers will have truly won. Every species they destroyed will be forgotten forever. The transformation chamber was a sphere of pure crystal at the heart of the archive, filled with swirling energy that looked like captured starlight. One by one, the volunteers entered the chamber and allowed their consciousness to merge with the quantum matrix. Their bodies dissolved into streams of light that flowed into the archive's crystalline walls, but their minds remained expanded and eternal. Emily watched her friends, her colleagues, her captain transform into living repositories of memory. Foster was among the first, and as her physical form faded away, Emily could see her consciousness spreading through the crystal-like roots through rich soil. The captain's mind touched every preserved memory in the archive, becoming guardian to billions of extinct voices. Thomas Wilson, the chief engineer who had become like a brother to Emily during their long exile, stepped into the chamber with a smile on his face. "Take care of yourself, Em," he said. "And when you bring everyone back, tell them Thomas Wilson remembered them first." His transformation was beautiful and terrible to watch. His body became light, his consciousness expanding into the archive's matrix where it joined the growing community of keepers. Emily could see his face glowing softly within the crystal, along with thousands of others who had made the same choice. The archive sang when the transformations were complete. 3,000 human voices joined in harmony with the recovered memories of extinct civilizations, creating a chorus that could be felt rather than heard. The crystalline structure pulsed with renewed energy, fully alive now with its guardian minds. Dr. Bonds wiped tears from his eyes as he reviewed the final readings. "It's stable," he announced. "The Keepers are successfully maintaining the quantum matrix. Every memory, every name, every story, it's all preserved." Admiral Mitchell stood before the archive one last time, his remaining fleet preparing for the long journey back to the Milky Way. The old soldier placed his hand against the crystal surface, feeling the warmth of the consciousnesses within. "It's time," he said, his weathered face showing the way to command and loss. "We go back. We use everything we've learned, everything we preserved. We make them remember." Emily looked at the archive one last time, seeing the faces of the keepers glowing within its depths. Thomas Wilson smiled at her from within the crystal, his consciousness now guardian to 10,000 extinct civilizations. Captain Foster gave her a gentle nod, her spirit peaceful in its eternal duty. "We'll bring them home," Emily promised, her words carrying across space to reach the listening minds within the archive. All of them, every single name. As the refugee fleet began its journey back toward the stars, the archive continued its eternal song, keeping watch over the memories of the dead and waiting for the day when those memories will become reality once again. The final confrontation took place at the heart of erased space, where the erasers had built their fortress of unmaking, a structure so wrong that it hurt to look at directly. The massive citadel existed by denying the reality of everything around it, a black wound in space that consumed light, matter, and even the concept of existence itself. Emily Watson stood at the center of her strike team aboard the assault ship Final Stand *, holding the portable archive node in her trembling hands. The device glowed like a captured star, its crystalline surface warm with the consciousness of 3,000 keepers who had sacrificed everything to preserve the memories of the dead. "Approaching the fortress now," reported Lieutenant Peterson from a pilot's seat, his voice tight with barely controlled fear. Through the view screen, they could see the impossible structure growing larger, a twisted spire of pure negation that made reality ripple around its edges like heat waves. The Eraser fleet surrounded them, thousands of shadow ships that flickered in and out of existence. But Admiral Mitchell's plan was working. The human fleet had scattered across the galaxy, each ship carrying a fragment of the archive's power. Every human mind was focused on the same goal, remembering to erase civilizations back into existence. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Emily announced, activating the node communication array. "Thomas, Linda, Dr. Barnes, all of you in the archive, we're here. It's time to bring everyone home." The response came not as word, but as pure emotion transmitted through quantum entanglement. 3,000 voices spoke as one, carrying the weight of 10,000 extinct civilizations. The keepers were ready. The prime eraser materialized before their ship, its form towering above them like a living void. Where other erasers shifted and changed, this one was terrifyingly solid, a creature of pure unmaking that had existed since the first star died. "You cannot restore what never was," it declared, its voice like the sound of dying suns. The fortress around them pulsed with dark energy, and Emily felt reality wavering. For a moment, she couldn't remember why she was here, couldn't remember what they were fighting for. But then the archive node flared to life in her hands, and the memories came flooding back. Creethel's gentle laugh, the Ketheri children painting butterflies of light, the crystal city singing in harmony with alien winds. "But we remember them," Emily replied, her voice growing stronger with each word. "And memory is stronger than forgetting." She activated the node with a thought, and the voices of the keepers sang out across space. The song was unlike anything the universe had ever heard. 3,000 human consciousnesses joined with the preserved memories of extinct civilizations, creating a harmony that transcended the physical laws of reality. Every name in the archive became an anchor point, pulling entire civilizations back from the void of never was into the light of is again. The gentle Ketheri materialized first, their homeworld blooming back into existence like a flower opening to sunlight. Their crystal cities rose from nothingness, filled once again with the laughter of children and the music of living light. The prime eraser recoiled as if struck. Impossible. Memory is just electrical patterns in organic matter. It cannot overcome fundamental unmaking. But the restoration continued. The Zent appeared next, their ancient philosophy ships materializing in perfect formation around their restored homeworld. These wise beings had spent millennia studying the nature of existence itself, and their return sent ripples of joy through the quantum foam. Then came the warrior poets of New Britannia, their great battle singers whose voices could turn the tide of wars. The crystal singers of the harmony worlds followed, creatures of pure musical energy who transformed sound into physical matter. The deep-sea philosophers of Aquatica Prime rose from their oceanic cities, their thoughts as deep and mysterious as the cosmic depths. "Impossible!" The prime eraser shrieked, but its voice was already growing weaker as more civilizations returned to existence. "Memory cannot overcome unmaking. We are the correction of errors in reality." "You're wrong," Emily said, watching as the galaxy filled with returning life. Stars that had been consumed began to shine again. Planets that had been deleted reformed with their original inhabitants. Memory is the only thing that can overcome unmaking. Every story told, every name spoken, every moment remembered, they all push back against the dark. The human fleet joined the battle now, their ships appearing throughout the galaxy as they broadcast fragments of preserved memory. On Earth, people stood in the streets remembering species they had never met but somehow knew. On Mars, children drew pictures of alien friends who existed only in recovered memories. On Jupiter's moons, researchers spoke the names of extinct philosophers, calling them back from oblivion. The erasers tried to fight back, but their power was breaking. As each civilization returned, the fabric of reality became stronger, more resistant to their unmaking touch. The fortress of negation began to crack, its impossible architecture collapsing as positive existence overwhelmed the void. "We are eternal," the prime eraser screamed as its form began to fade. "We have existed since the first star died. You cannot destroy us." "We're not destroying you," Emily replied calmly, watching the creature dissolve like smoke in sunlight. "We're just remembering that you never had to exist in the first place." The erasers faded like bad dreams before dawn, unable to exist in a universe where someone, somewhere, always remembered. Their fortress collapsed into itself, becoming nothing more than empty space where new stars immediately began to form. The galaxy awakened full of life again, full of voices singing songs of return and restoration. Species that had been extinct for millions of years called out to each other across the stars, sharing the joy of existence rediscovered. The Ketheri sent light paintings across space. The Zent began broadcasting philosophical discussions, and the warrior poets composed epic songs about the humans who had saved them. 6 months later, Emily stood on the observation deck of the New Remembrance Asterisk, watching the lights of 10,000 worlds sparkle in the darkness. Humanity had become something more than conquerors or explorers. They were the eternal guardians of memory, ensuring that no name, no matter how small, would ever be forgotten again. In the depths of space, the great archive pulsed with gentle light, and the keepers of names sang their eternal song of remembrance, their voices joined now by the grateful songs of 10,000 species who had been given a second chance at existence. The universe remembered, and in remembering, it lived. Asterisk, 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 the END asterisk, asterisk, asterisk.